Chuck's got the questions, digging so sharp, peeling back layers, hitting the heart. Chuck's new podcast, blowing your mind. Every topic.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Tracii, this is amazing. Only took 6 years to get you on my show.
Here I am.
Yeah, there you are. No, it's funny because like I had Ace on a couple times, and there was somebody, I won't call him out, but there was somebody who got mad at you for like not doing their show, and I was telling Ace, I was like, dude, you just got to be patient. Like, and sure enough, I said one day Tracii's going to do my show. Just watch, and here you are.
I love it. Yeah, the internet world brings us a little too close to each other sometimes.
Yeah, no, for sure. You also, so you're friends with my buddy Adika. You played with him with well, I think he was in LA Guns for like a minute, and then you guys played together with Gilby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was an interesting because it was you, him, Gilby, and then Eric Singer from Kiss. I'm like, God, how did I not know about this? And it's almost like you guys could have called the band something else because it was basically like a supergroup.
Right. Yeah. And the nobody knew about us. It was awesome. We just go out and do these little club gigs and stuff and have a great time.
Yeah, but there was no ego. Like you weren't saying like, hey, we should call this like Gilby and Guns, and Eric Singer is like, he's not trying to get his name on it. You guys are you and Eric Singer both were just like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just be in Gilby Clarke's band.
We got to go play a bunch of great music and get paid $100 a night. It was fun.
Yeah, that's cool. You've had so many like amazing gigs and stories like that.
I like to play the guitar.
Yeah,
it just boils down to that. Yeah, it's my best friend.
Right. But sometimes you say you take a break, like you kind of get burned out or whatever, and.
Yeah, not for very long, but yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm home, like after a tour or something like that, where I won't even pick up the guitar for a couple weeks, and then, but it always comes right back.
Yeah. Do you listen to music for fun? Because there's so many musicians I interview that they go, no, I don't really listen to music. Like I think it was Joel Hoekstra who was saying like even when he goes to the gym and when he drives, it's just silence. I'm like, that is weird, because he said he listens to music all day, so he wants a break from it.
No, I listen to music in the background, especially when I'm driving.
Is it mostly older stuff, or do you listen to new stuff too?
I listen to old music. That's really, really my thing. Most people my age, the music they listen to now is old music. Yeah, I mean, I'll acknowledge when something's good, but I mean, nothing recaptures the music of, being a teenager in your early 20s,
Yeah. Do you discover like new old music? Because like I know you have this song everyone always brings up. You say Runaway Train.
Right.
You discovered that like was it Blind Blake, and you kind of stole something from that? Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there are some kind of retro-y stuff like the Suffragettes, my friend Shermie's band from Canada. They're amazing. Surf band. There's a band in Denmark called Java Skull that they're probably my favorite band. I wouldn't consider them new, but but they have all the right elements. And I don't know, Blackberry Smoke, man. I mean, that's a legit band.
Yeah. Did you go to concerts as a fan, or do you just you see enough like working on and you see these bands, you play with them, right?
I think that if there's like something coming around that I really, really like, I love that band and I know I can stand there for 75, 90 minutes because I love the music so much, I'll go. Or if someone's doing like a local club gig or something like that, I'll go and hang out. I always go out and support the kids that I know that play in LA. There's some really good ones here. But music is a psychological thing, it's a thing. And the live experience, if it's not Van Halen or Led Zeppelin, I'm really not that interested. You know what I mean?
Interesting. So, what do you think about the cover bands that, these tribute bands that, some of the Zeppelin and Van Halen ones I've seen, like they're pretty close to the real. It's kind of fun to see that, I think.
Oh yeah. Nerd Halen sticks out to me. When Ralph had his version of Atomic Punks that really stuck out. Mr. Jimmy, the Jimmy Page guy, I will go see him any opportunity. I mean, it's scary, how zeppy they are. I like the tribute bands. I mean, I even like Def Leppard tribute bands. It's like, they oftentimes the tribute bands care more than the original bands. So like the stuff sounds really good and they really play the part. I always wanted to do a tribute band that was a cross between like Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 2, and the late Yardbirds, kind of like this Jimmy Page era thing. Like I always wanted to do that. I mean, I'm definitely not against paying tribute to musicians you love. And a lot of the bands, they make a lot of money.
Yeah, well, you were in Raiding the Rock Vault. I mean, that's kind of a similar kind of thing, right?
It is. That's a tribute band. Yeah, absolutely. That was really fun, and I made a lot of money.
It's pretty lucrative. I saw it. I don't know if you were there that night, but it's a good show.
Yeah, it's really good. The singers are top notch, the musicians are top notch, and the show is top notch. Yeah, really lucrative.
Yeah, it's always interesting too to me the bands that they sound so much like a band, but then they deny it. Like I remember Kingdom Come back in the day, and then Greta Van Fleet. Like I went and saw Greta Van Fleet. I was like, God, these guys sound so much like Zeppelin. Like if they just did one cover, they would kill it, but they just refused to do it. Right. At least when I saw them.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. It's kind of like when Yngwie says he doesn't know who Richie Blackmore is, or Helmet said they never heard Black Sabbath, or that always strikes me as odd because you're celebrating this music. You know what I mean? When you're with your influences or your inspiration or your thievery, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a funny position to take.
Yeah, I mean, like I love that, and I love that too. And you're not in a tribute band, so you can pull from all your influences. Like, I think your song, the new song, "The Grinder," I feel like with the long breaks, to me that had like a Zeppelin vibe. I don't know if that was on intention.
Totally. I mean that's such a Zeppelin 1 kind of arrangement. Like the way that it goes up and down, and it goes from slide to kind of just some ratty ass guitar, and Phil's just singing like a monster right now. That's my favorite song.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm glad I could bring up one that wasn't Runaway Train.
Right. Yeah.
And also, tell me about the song Hit and Run, because I wanted to say it almost kind of it had kind of like a happy dark vibe, like kind of something from the 80s, like the Smiths or the Cure or something. Yeah.
And you described it perfectly. It is a happy and dark song at the same time, vibe wise, for sure. That's Johnny's song that he brought in, and it's so good. He brought in the music, and as soon as I tracked him and his rhythm guitars, I got to go to work. He left, and then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? So that was like really I love when the guys bring in tunes, because then it doesn't start from me. It starts from someone else. And then I just get to fill in all the blanks and kind of, what would I do to this song mentality, as opposed to what am I doing with this song? That's how I approach my stuff. But other people's stuff, I feel like I have a lot more freedom for some reason. But that song is very, REM, kind of meets The Cult, kind of meets, Chris Isaac. It's kind of all over the place. And that's the band's collective favorite song on the album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. I love that one. I mean, they're all good and they're all so different. Like the singles Lucky Motherfucker. I mean, I don't know how anybody couldn't like that song. It's like so funky and just catchy. And I mean, I don't know, like I like eclectic. Like I love Appetite and I love Use Your Illusion. So to me, I don't know if a diehard LA Guns who only like the first album or if I don't know if they'll like this, but I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with LA Guns. You're either gonna get what you expect, or you're gonna get the exact opposite of what you expect from album to album, because I can't allow myself as a writer to do the same things over and over again. I have to eventually step outside my safe zone and do some other things that I love to do. And this is that record. This is we're coming up for air. It's generally a happier, more up-tempo, swingier album than any of our other albums. And the Grinder's probably the heaviest song, and there's not even one bar chord on it. It's all slide guitar, so.
That's cool. You said Johnny contributed a song. Did Ace contribute any songs or any riffs or anything? Or
he didn't on this one, and I'm not sure why. He was busy doing other things. I asked him, a few times, like, "Hey, man, if you got anything, get it to me." And he's like, "Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will." And then, Ace is busy.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. And so you do. I didn't realize this because I heard you say this in an interview that you don't really write the lyrics. Like very rarely. I think there was one, a Big House, LA Guns, so some other bits and pieces, but you typically just do the guitars.
That I do all the music, with the drummer. And that's always how it's kind of been, I remember being in my mom's house when I was about 17 or 18, and I had a Tascam 4-track and a drum machine. And that's how I've always written, is along with a drum machine. And then now I write with a real drummer, for forever now. But yeah, it's just like jamming with yourself and a drummer. There's nothing that's why I love Jack White so much. With the White Stripes, it's like I don't need anybody else, but he can sing. I can't sing.
Yeah, no, I love Jack White. I love his solo stuff and the White Stripes.
Oh yeah.
You work with for drummers. You're speaking of Adam Hamilton, who producer, drummer, former LA Guns member, been on this show. It's so funny because I did an interview with him years ago, and it would every couple of months somebody would comment and say, "I love Adam. Adam's the nicest guy." I was like, "Wow, this guy. How is he so beloved?" Like everybody, no one says anything bad about him. Like people love him. Like he really is one of the nicest guys.
Yeah, I mean he's genuinely a good person, in the core. We have fun talking shit though.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think Adam and I are behind the scenes, motherfucking everybody. We're human. But Adam is probably the nicest person that I know. Like he's the one that means well to everybody, and doesn't ever want to be a dick, or even, and he's got a lot of right to be a dick. He goes through a lot in his life, but he keeps it even keel. He's so talented, and he's so funny, and he's very inspirational for me as a writer. And we write all this stuff together, and we did the 2 Sunbomb records together, and the Blackbird Angels together, and back in the day we did the Waking the Dead album together where he played bass, but we wrote all that stuff. So having him as my writing partner is the greatest, for lack of a better word, the biggest blessing in my musical career, really.
Wow, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I love that. And then, yeah, for people who don't know, I mean, he plays the drums in the studio, and then you have Sean doing the live drums.
That's right. That's how we do it.
Yeah, there's a lot more bands that are doing stuff like that now, and it seems to work out for everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think with especially when you're adults, you know what I mean, and everybody kind of has their own life and their own separate kind of thing away from the band, as opposed to from 1984 to 1990, maybe there wasn't a day we didn't really go without playing. Either we were on tour, we were in the studio, or we were rehearsing and writing constantly together. And that's a good way to kill any relationship. It's just to be together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, everybody knows their role and has their separate adult life. And, and I'm just here just working my ass off constantly, making sure that everything's in place, all the gears are aligned, and making sure we make great records and putting together great live shows, and crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I didn't used to do any of this. I used to just write, play live, and eat pizza. That was my whole life for 25 years. But a lot of things fell through the cracks, man. A lot of bad shit happened when you don't pay attention. So Now I learned my lesson. It was an expensive lesson.
So you're kind of like the manager of the band, and
No, we have great management. You know, we have Tim Heine and Brian Coleman. But yeah, I mean, everything goes through me. You know, I mean, I write the checks. You know, I mean, I do the budgets with our business manager. You know, and that gets shared with everybody. You know, everybody knows what's up all the time. Everybody's happy.
do you like that, having kind of being in control, having it be your band versus being a part of a band and having to kind of negotiate, or just, I guess you could also say the third option would be kind of being like when you're in Gilby's and you're just kind of like a hired gun and just, hey, it's your thing, I'm just playing guitar.
I didn't like it, you know, when you know, this kind of noticed how much stuff had fallen through the cracks over the years, you know. It seemed like it would be really boring, but now, since, you know, all my focus is on this band, then now I focus from top to bottom, and what a difference it makes, you know, when you pay attention to your own business.
Interesting. So what advice would you have for people starting out in bands? Because there's just so many horror stories of doing these interviews of the music business and people getting screwed over and stuff, and just like losing royalties and publishing and all this, and stealing the name of the band and all, you know, like, is there advice that you would have to younger bands?
You know, yes, there really is, and this goes for any kind of artist or somebody that creates anything, or, you know, copyrights something. Is be nice and be open-minded and listen to the people around you, but know that you're not going to change your mind on a decision that you've made. You know, don't let people, you know, kind of alter your perception if you really believe in your journey and what you want to do, your vision. In a band situation, there should always be one guy and that guy should be a really cool, nice guy. You know, otherwise that guy's going to have a lot of problems. You know, but generally, you know, unless, like, let's say I was still playing with Rob Gardner and Danny Tall and Dave Melford and these guys that I started playing with when I was real young, you know, that would be more of a collective kind of vision where everybody grew up together, you know, like physically, mentally, musically, you grow up together. Well, then that is really a special scenario. Like, for instance, Alex and Eddie, or Vinnie Paul and Dimebag. You know, these are guys, you know, when you grow up together, you have each other's back, and that's just the way it is. But when your band is not like that, where, you know, you have members coming and going, and it's your vision and all these things, you got to protect yourself, and you can't let other people take over really important tasks and things like that, especially if their only vision is that, like, I love being in this band and I want to make money, right? Because it's not really their band, but they love the band, they love being in the band, they love contributing to the band. But you didn't grow up together, you didn't create the vision together. You know, they don't really feel like they have anything to lose because they weren't in the band before. You know what I mean? So they come in, and, you know, they have their own, you know, motivations for doing gigs, you know. And sometimes it works out great, and sometimes they really sparkle and add something, and other times they snore in the hallway of the bus, you know, 8 hours a night, and it's like, you're fucking out of here. You know
For
what I mean?
snoring? You fire somebody for snoring?
Oh, absolutely. You know, somebody's keeping the whole crew and band up all night. You know, it's not necessarily that person's fault, but it can't be had. And that's an extreme case, right? Like, that's like a place where you have to make a decision. Like, wow, you know, does the benefit, you know, outweigh this horrible lack of sleep everybody's getting, and everybody's turning into a gross human being because of it? Yeah, it's an extreme case, but it's happened.
Yeah. So
And
now,
not just in my band.
right, oh, for sure. So at this point, you found a way to coexist with Phil. It seems like you guys are getting along great. You're making arguably some of the best music that you guys have both made in your careers the last few albums, I think. I mean, is there something that you're doing differently, or is it just getting those other pieces out of the band and now you guys can coexist better?
Well, yeah, I think Phil and I, like, we were talking about growing up together, over 30 years. We've definitely now grown together. You know what I mean? We've grown together, we've learned together, we've lost together, so many things. And by getting rid of toxic people who always seem to get in between us, um, we're a very, very happy partnership, a happy band. We're a family, and that includes our crew members and our management and our agent and our business manager, our label. Everybody's the same family. Everybody is looking in the same direction.
Wow, that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, because it sounds like I mean it's work. Because I feel like, well, I don't know. Because then again, I feel like Vicious Circle, that's one of my favorite albums that you guys did. And I'm guessing that you weren't getting along good at that point, but somehow you pulled out a good record, in my opinion.
Well, oddly enough, we were getting along
Oh,
good. It's just that I was in another band. I was in this band Killing Machine that Polydor signed. So I had LA Guns, and then I had this other fresh, new, shiny band that I was putting my time into, and that's right. That's when we fired Steve Riley. So we had Bones in there, and Myron Grombacher was in there, and Nikki Beat, our original drummer, all in there working with the guys to create songs. So what had happened was they had finished the record, and I hadn't played one note on it, and I heard it, and I thought it was great. I was like, this is fucking great. So we sent it in anyways. We sent the album in. And immediately David Segerson, our A&R guy, the president of the label, he's like, "What is this?" And I lied through my teeth, man. I'm like, "It's great." It's like, come on, listen to those songs. He's like, "You're not on this album, and you did not write any of these songs." And I'm like, "Fuck." So we threatened to drop Killing Machine if I didn't go in and write all, big batch of new songs and play on everything. So I did, and all the heavy stuff that's on there I brought in.
oh, okay, like Face Down, because I love that song.
No, actually, oddly enough, I did not write Face Down. That was Mick.
Okay.
But Killing Machine and Killing Machine was a collaboration between me and Kelly. And but like Kill That Girl, Who's in Control, Chasing the Dragon, we actually went out of the recording studio into a rehearsal studio. We went into Cole's studio, and it's funny because JJ Blair owned Cole's studio, and I didn't know that, and he's just an amazing producer. But we went to his studio while we still had the recording studio locked out to finish these 5 songs I had. Went back to 4th Street Recorders, recorded them with different drummers. The same drummers didn't play on everything. And then we took all the tapes over to Red Zone Studios in Burbank so I could do overdubs on all the other stuff that was already been recorded. Because this guy, Dennis Degger, he's like my favorite guitar engineer. So went over there, finished that stuff up. But undeniably, just I wish somebody else would have mixed it. I think the mix is a little weak. But yeah, that as an album package, wow. Well, the tunes are great. That song Fade Away, Mick plays this little guitar solo on it. It gets my soul every time I listen to it. Cool record.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Would you ever do like a deep cut from that album, or like, do you ever just add in other deep cuts throughout?
We do Killing Machine live sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be like we've already played for an hour and a half, and the crowd still has energy, and then somebody on stage will go Killing Machine, like, God damn it, okay, because it's like it's the fastest, heaviest, hardest song to play, and kind of 90 minutes into a set to bust that out authentically, that's the end of the set.
Do you have so you have a lot of songs that you could just the whole band knows it, and you could just draw from different. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we really do. And even Sean does at this point, our drummer. He's been in the band for a long time now, and he'll throw out songs like, "Hey, we've never played this, let's do it." Like, fuck, hold on, let me listen. Yeah, okay, let's do it. So yeah, I mean, that's the greatest part of the band is, aside from Phil and I, Ace and Johnny and Sean and Adam love LA Guns and they're familiar with all the music and they listen to all that music. So, we do get to throw curveballs here and there live, and it just adds to the very fun time we have.
Is there any song that you feel like if you had a magic wand, you could make this song a bigger hit or more popular? Is it a song that you think that should have been bigger that wasn't?
I think if Let You Down came out, like, I don't know, any other time when people were paying attention to rock music, it could have been, I don't even know. As soon as we released that during the pandemic, just there's two videos. There's like a weird video and there's like a lyric video. And the reaction we got was insane. And I was like, whoa. And we all knew that there was something about that song because we released it, way ahead of the album. It was kind of this song, in a weird time. It was written in March of 2020 when I was stuck in Denmark. And, talk about an email record, recording. It was just like going back and forth between me and Adam and Phil and Mitch Davis, Phil's partner. And, I was just spending time in this little cabin on the west coast of Denmark in Sand. It's like a little resort summertime place where my ex's family owned this little bit of property, and they had this little tiny black tar cabin. And I would just bring my recording gear in there, and spend hours. And that was the one song, that was the first song that came out of there. And it was so dark.
Yeah, it is.
And people attached to it in a way that I don't feel like any of our other songs have connected with people quite that way. So that's one. That's
I feel like, yeah, I wondered, I thought when I heard that, I thought it should have belonged in a movie. Like it sounded like it should have been part of a movie soundtrack. It would have been the perfect soundtrack for like a horror movie or something.
Oh yeah. Or a villain movie, something like that. And we don't play it live because it's so fucking depressing. You know what I mean? It's like, sex action. Okay. Don't like, no. We did it a couple times and it's like, wow, that's that doesn't feel nice.
Yeah, I guess I get that. Yeah, because people come to an LA Gun show, they want to hear the fun party songs and the I like when you play Speed. I love that song. Like that's fun.
Yeah. Like that's permanent in the set. We can't not ever not do Speed. But people really respond well to the kind of like Gone Honey, Over the Edge, of course. That's a very big dramatic song. So we have a few, but we just try to do a couple live and not bring it that far down. Because we have some pretty fucking suicidal music. We just leave it on the records. It's like that's what records are for. You get it out there. You don't have to do it live.
Do you have people that come up to you after the shows though and say, "Hey, this song really got me through a tough time, or it really resonated with me"? And I mean, you're sending emails. Is that I'm assuming that's some of those emails that were personal emails.
Yeah. Still to this day, a lot of stuff came out of the Iraq War. On paper, letters that we would get from soldiers and the families of soldiers, how all the LA Guns music to that point, which was really before, well, let's see, it would have been, like right as Hollywood Vampires was coming out, but everything, from No Mercy got played by people that you would not expect, like all over the world. It's like, this song just gives me so much energy to get through these times and stuff like that, stuff that, I mean, Ballad of Jane, that was obvious, but One Way Ticket to Love, so many people related to that song for different reasons, and the saddest part of that song is that it's about heroin addiction. That was written by our former singer. He wrote those lyrics. and it's about a love affair with heroin, and but people interpret songs and lyrics the way they want to, but yeah, so we do go there, you know what I mean? Like, we get dark and it
Yeah.
connects with people.
Do you think that's hypocritical of the media? Because whenever you hear these, we mentioned heroin addiction. I mean, it's obviously a huge problem in the world, and so many, especially in music, like Taylor Hawkins, I think is one of the most recent. Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, the list goes on and on and on, right? And then, but you had some anxiety, and you were dealing with anxiety, and you dealt with it. And to your credit, you didn't take heroin, you didn't take a pill. You could have probably taken a Xanax, and that probably would have eased your anxiety. And then they attack you, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. You're so, this is such a tragedy with Taylor Hawkins. Oh, what could we do? Well, maybe you could not attack people who are trying to deal with anxiety and not use drugs.
Right. There's only 7 people out of 1 million that attack me, and they can all
wasn't that many?
No, not at all.
Well, that's good.
I got letters from like mental institutions, psychiatrists, psychologists. That was the biggest story LA Guns ever had. And the amount of people that reached out to me supporting what I did and understanding what happened was incredible, and, these chuckle fucks that, live on a farm that have never had, what's the word? A moment of friction in their life that can't relate to the realities of the big world. Those are the ones that talk shit, and they're the ones drinking big gulps that are this big, with diabetes going, oh, fucking life's great, and I don't care about them, and every human on this planet is going through something, period. I don't care how shiny our Instagram accounts are. I don't care about your Ferrari. I don't care about any of it. Everybody's going through something.
Yeah, no, very well said. Yeah, no, I deal with that myself too. I mean, I just feel like I feel like it's not even also the media. It's just it's these chuckle fucks, these commenters on YouTube, and Twitter, and Instagram. All this stuff is just like, and no matter what you put out, you could put out the most brilliant album, and they're just going to trash it because they just get off on trashing stuff.
Well, it's the only way they can get attention.
Right.
They can't do something in a positive way with their 7 followers on Facebook and get any attention. So let me go onto this site called Blabbermouth, where there's millions of people looking, and let me say something really against the grain. That'll show them, and then they get their serotonin rush. Like,
right.
Yeah, like, oh, it felt good. It's like this addiction to, watching car crashes on YouTube or something. It's the same thing.
Totally. Can you keep going, or do you have to jet for the next?
No, we're good. We're good. You're the last one of the day. We can just.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We can smoke a joint. We can do whatever you want.
Okay, yeah, because I had Corabi on yesterday, and they told me it's a hard out, and then he said, "No, keep going." We talked for like 2.5 hours. I was like, "Dude, this is a lot of fun." But yeah, you guys did a project together, and he was telling me that because I was asking about the songwriting thing, they're like, "Oh, they said they didn't want to write with you," and then he said, "No, I talked to Tracii, and Tracii said, no, I didn't have a problem writing with him." So was it just Nikki that didn't want to write with him, or was it a miscommunication? Like the message got construed with that one?
John thinks a lot about himself. Nobody thought any way about writing with John. It was like, you have something cool? Let's hear it. I mean, I don't know. It was a band, and then John left. It's like, it was very eventless.
Huh.
It wasn't, I think, I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, yeah. So you never were like, no, I don't want to write with that guy. It's like, yeah, you would. It was probably a thing where maybe you didn't like something that he did, and then no? It got misconstrued that. Okay, yeah. Then maybe...
I mean, because even Nikki didn't want to have anything to do with them. I mean, John sued Motley Crue and won. So like Nikki didn't want to have anything to do with Corabi. But we were on tour when Nikki and I were putting the band together, and John every day, hey, talk to Sixx. Did you talk to Sixx? It was like, yeah, dude, he doesn't want to do it. All right. The next day, same thing. It's like, all right, dude, whatever. He turned me on, Corabi turned me on to Clown Records, which is the rehearsal studio and recording studio where we loaded into, wrote the music, and recorded there with this guy, Steve O'Bruno. Great engineer, great producer. And we're in there for 3 days, and the next thing you know, Corabi's like around the hallways, like, because he was friends with that Steve O'Bruno guy. Yeah. And like third day in, Nikki's like, this is really awkward, dude. And I'm like, what? He goes, Corabi just like in the hallways. Like, what's he doing? And I'm like, well, he wants to be in the band, you know? And Nikki finally, he goes, if it just makes life easier, just go tell him to come in here, you know, and come in and you know, everybody was nice to him, and Nikki was nice to him, and we got him equipment, and you know, and then he decides at some point he wants to be a truck driver. So, you know, I talked Nikki into giving him $6,000 out of our accounts, and so he could go to truck driving school. He didn't even become a truck driver. like just scrambled eggs, man. Just like scrambled eggs, like, you know, whatever, man.
Wow.
You know,
Okay. I never heard this side of the story. This is wild.
of course not, because and the only reason I bring it up is when people just say fucking asinine, stupid shit. It's like, we would not have any problems with anybody in any band situation with somebody bringing in music to work on. Like, it's just an absurd thing to say. You know, so, you know, good luck, dude. You know, be happy.
Yeah. No, it's like you just have this, you seem like you have a really good attitude with a lot of things like this. Like, just say la vie, like you're not really bitter. You're kind of like, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm moving on.
That's what people don't understand. You know, like Axl Rose questions, right? They come up constantly because those grab headlines.
Sure. I got some Axl Rose questions.
Yeah, I love Axl Rose.
Yeah.
We created arguably one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, right? We had a personal issue at one point in our life that prevented me from carrying on in the band. That's the whole story.
Right.
You know, do I regret anything? No. That's like the proudest moment of my life is every fucking Guns N' Roses t-shirt has my name on it. You know, oh, I regret that. What a bummer, man. You know, so people really take things out of context, like maybe Tracii Guns is a dick. You know, let's just like be neutral about it. Tracii Guns is a dick. Okay. And you know, like do you need a fucking tissue paper? You know, like, how can I help you feel better about, you know, the cool stuff I'm doing for people and creating music that people love, playing live, selling, you know, equipment and products for other companies and enriching their life and my life, you know. So the only time I really say anything, you know, dickish is it's a response to somebody's narcissistic bubble that they live in that infringes on me or somebody like Nikki or somebody like Phil or somebody like Ricky Rocket or, you know, all these brilliant people that I've worked with. You know, who cares if Nikki Sixx and I are friends anymore? It doesn't affect your life. The thing that affected your life is the music we made together and the music that I made on my own and Motley Crue. That's all that affects your life. You know what I mean? So people write their own movies in their head and they live them. And all these details are what they add to their movie. And there's just like zero reality behind any of it that affects their life in any way. You know, it's wild. So if I have a good attitude, it's just that I'm very grateful that, you know, at 59 years old, you know, I get to make an album called Leopard Skin like I was 15 years old. People are going to buy it. We're going to go tour behind it. We're going to have a great time. And that's what this is about to me. And everybody's, you know, tampon moments, go have your fucking tampon moment. I'll wipe your ass for you. I'll be nice. I'll loan you a guitar again that you can sell, because that's the person I am. Does it piss me off? Yeah, it pisses me off to the point of like, I don't want to know you anymore, but it doesn't really affect my life in a negative way.
Yeah, that's really profound. I love this kind of stuff. I love getting like the inside of your brain. I think you're a fascinating guy. Like what? Because when you look at you were in Guns N' Roses, but you're not like I've watched several interviews and you've told the story and all this stuff, and you're not bitter about it. But then you look at a guy like Dave Mustaine, who was in Metallica, and he's in Megadeth. Megadeth, arguably bigger band than LA Guns, but it still seems like he's bitter about not being in Metallica. Like, why? What do you think? Do you have advice for him, or like, have you guys ever talked about that? Because I just feel like you could help him. I don't know. I guess I just worry about people, and I'm just maybe that I'm being too. I'm being like the people that you're talking about, that I should just shut the fuck up and listen to music. But
no, I think in a way, Mustaine. The only time I've ever hung out with Mustaine, we smoked a joint in a laundry room at NAMM.
What? That's fucking awesome story.
Yeah, and he was really nice. He was really cool. That's the only encounter I've ever had with him. But I see the things he says, about Metallica, and I guess that's how he feels. You know what I mean? It's like he wouldn't say it if he didn't feel that way. He wouldn't say it if he didn't feel like he was discarded in a way, kind of like, when somebody breaks up with you and they replace you with another human, you're just like, hey, you're a horrible person for doing that, So, I mean, maybe it comes from that kind of place. Dave is certainly Dave, you know what I mean? Dave definitely has a strong personality, and he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. But he's a big guy. Mustaine's a big guy, so maybe his gripes are legitimate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting just because, like, yeah, I mean, you look at where you guys both went, and it's like you both did your own things, and you're like really happy with yours. And Mustaine's, like I said, his Megadeth's huge. I love Megadeth, and it's like he still seems to have this like bitterness. It's kind of interesting.
Well, I'm not sure, but did they fire him?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference, because you quit and he got. But I mean, he was a drunken, like, he was a mess, right? So it's like it's probably a good thing. Although I don't think that motivated him to get clean, but I think maybe later, looking back, that might have been a motivation to clean up, and he probably, I think he just feels shame or guilt about that or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's legitimately angry with himself and doesn't understand. Yeah, that's very possible.
I love just playing pop psychologist with a lot of this stuff. I just think it's
all psychology. It's all psychology. This whole art is psychology. Visual art. I have pictures of my kids in front of me, right, and my girlfriend, and it's like psychologically, it's like, so like any stimulation in your brain is psychological, and music is certainly psychological.
Yeah, girlfriends. God, you've dated some of the most beautiful women. Do you have to like actually? I've never been in a band. Like, when you're in a band of like, you just not even have to try. Do women just come to you and then you just pick who you want? Or how does it work?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a certain caliber. There's groupies. Groupies are a thing, and they're awesome. But the women, I've had 6 girlfriends my whole life. And the old blues guys would always say, only go with women that like you. Don't chase a woman down that doesn't like you. You're the only one doing the liking, right? Because that's kind of sets you up for disaster. So I knew that very young, and I just kind of ended up in spots with my 6 girlfriends where it just all happened. It wasn't not all. 5 of them obviously didn't work out. I mean, one of them was for 27 years. So a few were for like 3 years, and most recently I had a really good 6-month relationship, and I've been with my girlfriend now for a year and a half. but they are beautiful, all of them. You know, I can't deny they're all super special women. You know, I mean, yeah, they all look great, but each one of them, really powerful. What's the word? You know, sense of independence and you know, well-being, and you know, fighting to get the right things done in their life. And that's always been the appealing thing to me, you know, is that, you know, a woman that works hard and you know, is on the right side of history, number one. You know, all these things. And you know, Freud would say, you know, all your lovers are your mom or dad, you know, kind of in a way. So you know, my mom's beautiful, you know, so it's like maybe that's just the way it worked out.
Yeah, wasn't your mom a model? But it's interesting too, because I heard you talking about how your mom was it your mom or dad or both of them were into drugs and stuff. And so that's why you think sometimes you're kind of drawn to more of these, like, what do you call them, like broken people?
Oh yeah,
Because they're more
yeah,
interesting. But then you say a lot of the friendships end badly because they are
yeah,
drug addicts or whatever.
because of it. Well, I think that the drug addiction is only, you know, the symptom. You know what I mean? It's not that they're
Right.
drug addicts or anything like that, but they're people that somewhere along the way just kind of, they're great people, but people get broken. You know, who knows why in every instance. Um, but those are the people I'm most attracted to, you know, and those are the people that come to me, and those are the things that get revealed down the road a little ways, you know, because everybody comes with a smile on their best behavior, and you know, they want what they want, and I'm available. And it's always such a learning experience, you know, whether it's, you know, Paul Black or my ex-wife or Axl Rose or my oldest kid's mom. You know, out of everything, I've just learned about people, you know, and those are all intense relationships, you know, very, very intense. Um, and at times toxic for sure, you know. That's just the way it is. You know, people pretend that, you know, you've done everything right in your life every step of the way, and that, you know, you don't deserve someone to tell you off or be in an argument with you. Well, that's pretty arrogant, you know. So you know, I feel like, you know, being the master of many relationships, whether it be band members, bands, you know, women, children, grandparents, you know, you know, I love all of them. You know, do I talk to all of them now? No. You know, but that doesn't mean I don't love them. If you love somebody once, you certainly always have some sort of love for them.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
that's how I feel about like exes or even friendships or family members where had a falling out. I'm like, I want what's best for you and I want you to be happy, but I can't be in your life and like this is too much on me.
right,
Like I love myself
right.
too. I have to protect myself a little bit, right?
That's absolutely right, and it's great because I know anytime somebody like kind of talks sideways about me, you know, that I'm close to, I just go, oh, they love me. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's no reason to say something silly about somebody unless you want their attention, is there?
Hmm.
You know,
Good point. Yeah, very true. I just
that's
think of a guy like Adam Hamilton. I'm like, does anyone ever say anything bad about this guy? Because like I said, it's got all these comments how he's so nice. I'm like, I want to be like Adam. How do I do that?
I could tell you, but you don't want to know.
Okay. What else can we talk about? Oh yeah, so no, my only thing with Guns N' Roses I was going to ask you is just like I know that I'm not going to make you retell the origin story. People can Google that. It is really fascinating. But
Yeah.
did you ever like run into them after that? Did you ever like see them in the scene like in the 80s? Like did you guys go to parties or I mean, I'm assuming it didn't. It's not like you guys had such a huge falling out that you wouldn't be cordial to one another.
Yeah, no. We were fine. I mean, I haven't seen any of those guys multiple times. You know, I've seen Axl a couple times. And of course, it's always been cordial. As a matter of fact, right after I left and we got signed and they were doing their record, Axl called me and said, "Hey, I heard you guys got signed." And I'm like, "Yeah, finally." You know, he's like, "Fuck," and he was in the studio with Alice Cooper recording Under My Wheels, and he had me come down there. And I think that's the last time we really hung out. But that was months after, you know, I had left Guns N' Roses, you know, and then I don't think I've really seen him since then, but I've seen Slash. I've jammed with Slash. I've only seen Izzy a couple times because Izzy, he likes to just be gone. And I've had some great conversations with Duff, but no, we're not friends in an intimate way anymore. You know, I mean, and it's been, fuck, man, I don't know, 35 years now or something crazy, 40 years.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, but I got nothing for love but love for those guys. You know,
Yeah.
you know, they've had their own struggles, man. Jesus Christ.
What do you mean?
I mean, with addiction
Yeah.
and you know, being in hospital, you know, band falling apart, you know, I mean, just the fact that Izzy left is kind of heartbreaking. Yeah, I mean, they've been through their own things, you know, I mean, I think, you know, from the outside looking in, you know, people go, "Oh, all these guys have all this success and make all this money and do all these things. And, you know, they must be the happiest people in the world." And yeah, I mean, to some degree, you know, everybody appreciates the accolades of their work. Um, but everybody's still just a human. You know, it's like everybody's got problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then I would think the hardest thing about being successful, whether you're talking about Guns N' Roses or, you know, a band like Tortura or yourself, like any sort of like, you know, in a band or something like that, like it's hard to know who to trust, like who's really in this for your best interest and because they like you and they want to support you, and who's kind of the snake. And I mean, I think, like you said, you've kind of learned that throughout the years, like who's in it who's really for you and who's trying to take from you. There's a lot
Right.
of people trying to take when you're in a band like that, right?
Well, there's two ways to approach a band, and you know, from guys that are looking for gigs. There are the guys that really want the gig, and then there's the guys that really need the gig.
Hmm.
You never hire the guys that really need the gig,
Huh.
ever, 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 ever. Because need means I. You know, want means I want to be part of something because I love it. You know, so if somebody comes to you in your band, "Man, I need this gig so bad, please." It's like, sorry,
Hmm.
I can't make you happy. Only you can make you happy.
That's it, really. Yeah, because then you're kind of like, it's almost like a charity thing if you're just giving them because they need it so bad, and then that doesn't work out for the music.
That's right. But it doesn't work out with the chemistry of the band members.
Yeah.
And when you have that, like, you know, having one shithead in the band, wow, it's such a problem. It's such a problem, you know. And I think, you know, and I hate to bring up Skid Row and Sebastian because I love all those guys. You
Me
know,
too. Those are one of
love
my
the
favorites.
band, love them together, love them separate. But the guys in the band, their point of view is that Sebastian to them is a shithead. And then Sebastian's point of view is like, well, they wanted a David Lee Roth type of guy, you know? And my point of view is don't ever leave that kind of fucking money on the table. What the fuck is wrong with all of you?
That was not what I thought you were going to say. That is really.
Seriously, like no joke. Like I'm not making a joke or a funny ha ha. They don't ever have to even see Sebastian to go and perform live and to make millions of dollars, not just $1 million, millions of dollars.
Really? You think it was that much they've missed out on? Could they still make that much?
Yes, absolutely, unequivocally. Yes, yes. Skid Row is a high impact band. They make pretty decent money now.
Yeah.
You know, even not having a singer, they make pretty decent money now. I think the excitement for, you know, good 200 shows over 3 years, no problem, man. Arenas for sure.
So do you think it's just really they don't like Sebastian that much that they're willing to cost themselves millions of dollars? Like it's just not worth it for them.
They think they don't like Sebastian that much. When you manifest hatred based on an experience or 100 experiences, right? Like they say, you know, doing the same thing the second, another time and expecting it to be different is the definition of insanity. Well, then do it differently. You know what I mean? It's like, then do it differently. Yeah, I think Rachel and Snake in particular, I think it's so wound up in their head how toxic that Sebastian is that they've amplified it over and over and over and over and over again. And they come out in the press, no, we don't like that guy. It'll never happen. Cool, man. Cool. And Sebastian's point of view, cool, whatever. But at the same time, it's the music business. It's not the friends business. You're lucky if everybody's friends and you're still doing good business. But you're really lucky if you're doing amazing business and you don't have to be friends. You know what I mean? And that's ego. That's ego just standing there. Like me, I'm a little bit different because I really just want to play my guitar. I don't worry about money. I haven't ever. And I've been broke. I've been poor. But that's not a motivating factor for me. You know what I mean? I get excited when we make a lot of money. You know what I mean? I don't expect it. You know, I'm like, whoa, we make a lot of fucking money now, you know? And it's great. It's a bonus, you know, but if LA Guns was as big as Skid Row, man, you know, there's like, fuck, you know, I give away 2 of my kids and I only have 2 kids.
Damn. This is a hot take right here. I think that's Eyebrows going to be all over this. This is crazy.
But I mean, I'm not saying anything that nobody knows. You know what I mean? It's just that I love all those guys, and you know, I mean, if the Who could do it, come on, man. You know, if the Eagles could do it, you know, if Guns N' Roses could do it, you know, why are you you're not cooler than them.
Yeah. So you think it'd just be a thing where they'd each have their own buses and they don't talk to each other, but they got to see each other. I mean, they have to rehearse and they have to play on stage. So what, like,
do they? What? I mean, they got to play on stage, but they need to rehearse.
I guess they could rehearse separately.
I don't need to rehearse. You know, like I said, at this point, you know, they are a legacy, an unbelievable legacy band from a time that, you know, and I don't care how many snotty people are on the internet talking shit about all of them. People are going to go see Skid Row with Sebastian Bach. I would pay, but my whole what's the word? Ulterior motive for this is, you see, if Skid Row got back together, then LA Guns could go open for Skid Row.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I would pay to see that show. Can we throw Warren in the mix too, or Poison or something like that?
We anything, man. But that's my whole reason for trying to get Skid Row back together.
You have dibs on the opening slot? Is that you've already called it?
Oh yeah, because you know I've already threatened every member. Said, hey man, when you get back together, you don't have LA Guns on that bill. You know, I'm gonna put, you know, fake cheese in your omelets. You know, I'm a heavy hitter. Yeah.
No, that would be a good. I would also love to hear new music. I loved their last album. It sounded like old school Skid Row, Gangs in New York. I don't know if you heard that one, but it was great. I thought it'd be interesting to hear what they do with Sebastian. I love Sebastian's new album too, though.
Yeah, Sebastian's new record is furious, man. It's like ferocious. You know, that's the thing. Rachel's such a good songwriter, you know, and you just put Sebastian on it, and you know, you can't replace Sebastian Bach. I'm sorry, you can't replace Axl Rose. You can't replace Phil. Can't replace Bret Michaels. You know, if you do, you're just changing the band, and that was like only a couple of people have been real successful at it, and that's like obviously AC/DC and Van Halen, which is debatable, and yeah, Maiden, AC/DC, them. I mean, but the Stones certainly could not replace Jagger, Aerosmith. You can't do it. And while Sebastian or Skid Row's done a pretty good job of it, it ain't the same.
Right. Well, you guys have had some other singers in LA Guns, and you recorded with one of them, but one of them that I saw that I was like, wait, I don't remember this. Was Joe Leste from Bang Tango? He was in LA Guns for a brief time?
He came to audition. He came down. He's a real good friend of mine. And he just couldn't, it wasn't his thing. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't his style. You would think it would be his style, but it wasn't. And I guess that's when we got Chris Van Dahl. But all the singers in my different versions of LA Guns I've had had their pluses and minuses, but there was never LA Guns like with Phil. You know what I mean? This is like,
it's kind of like Vince Neil and Motley. Like, Vince Neil, like, it's such a distinct, who it is. Like, and I feel like the same way with Phil has that, like, when you hear Phil, you're like, oh, this is LA Guns.
Yeah, it's really, in our case, it's simple. You know what I mean? Because, when we had Jizzy in the band, it was also fantastic, but we were really doing our own thing. It really wasn't LA Guns, you know what I mean? But Jizzy did sing Phil stuff real well, but it still wasn't LA Guns. Same with Delana. She did her thing on the songs, and you go watch that YouTube stuff, and she's mind-blowing. People gave zero fucks.
Yeah, I heard you say that they just didn't. That's why it was so short-lived, because you loved it and you thought she sounded amazing. It just wasn't LA Guns.
Yeah, and people just weren't having it. They didn't want it. And that's the thing. Your audience will tell you. You know what I mean? They will let you know.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what the internet's for? So fans can tell their favorite musicians and actors, like, when to go fuck themselves.
I don't mind having opinions, like constructive opinions, but I feel like nobody has any tact on the internet. Like, people don't talk like that to each other in real life. Like, you could give constructive criticism and be nice about, hey, like, I really like this interview, but I wish that you would have asked this. Or so. It's like, you fucking idiot, you didn't ask him about that. What are you, stupid? Strange.
Yeah, it's just it crosses a line. But people are really brave behind any shield, behind any wall, behind any protective service. And that's what the computers is essentially a protective service. You can be the asshole that you've always been on the internet.
Yeah, it is kind of fun sometimes to be the asshole, right?
Well, I guess when it's justifiable.
Yeah,
but if it's justifiable, are you really being an asshole?
Right. Oh, that's true. Yeah. And I just feel like arguing with people on the internet is like, it's just such a waste of, like, it can't be constructive. I feel like with these podcasts, we can have a healthy discussion, but with random people on the internet, it just doesn't work.
Well, everybody lives in their own little shell, and they can only speak of their experience with certain situations, and you can only talk about what you know. You can't talk about somebody else's experience, and I have a feeling that's where a lot of the disconnect is with people, is that they can't relate to each other's experience. Take somebody living in Manhattan talking about life with somebody that lives in Wyoming, and they've only grown up in those two places, and they don't have any idea about what the other person's life has been like, because they haven't done it. They haven't physically been there. So, that's where humans disconnect, is like, because a lot of people in the States haven't been to Europe or the Middle East or Australia or Japan or Korea or South America. And so a lot of us here think, well, life is just like this everywhere.
Right.
And it's nothing like this everywhere. I mean, you go to Japan, you go to Tokyo, and you go, wow, this feels like home. You go to London, you go, oh, this feels like home. Copenhagen, oh, this feels like Venice Beach. You know what I mean? But those societies and those cultures are completely different from one another and different from us. And so the United States is so big that we do have big metropolises and little tiny villages and little one street towns, and everybody's life experience is different. So, then you add the internet where everybody has the same size platform, and it's just a shit show, man.
It is, right. Yeah, because I don't think people, yeah, they can't understand. And then also, I feel like people are different on the internet. Like, there's people that are the nicest people in real life. Like, I love them. I'd hang out with them for hours a day. I can't look at one Facebook post from them or I'll go crazy. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Keep your circle small, friend.
That is great advice. But yeah, I love, that's one thing. I haven't been around the world like you or whatever. I mean, I've been to some places, but doing this podcast, talking to people from different parts of the world and different backgrounds, like from all kinds of different backgrounds, different ages, different races, religions, all this stuff. I find it just really fascinating. And I think that my conclusion is that we have much more in common than we have differences. And I just wish that we could realize that somehow. I don't know how to make people realize that, but yeah.
Well, for example, we play in the South a lot, right? And a lot of the red hats are from the South, so everybody just assumes that they're these like crazy, stupid people. But it's quite, on the contrary. These people are the first ones to help you out. They're the first ones to, let you in their home and cook meals for you and do so. Even though you can disagree on policies and what TV show you're watching, but people are all basically the same. It just doesn't matter because you all have the same common needs. You're hungry, you want to look your best, and you want to have sex. That's really the basic things of life. And as you get older, some of those start getting more important than others, and but people generally just want to be comfortable. You know what I mean? They want to find comfort, and a lot of people find comfort from making other people feel comfortable, and that's called Southern hospitality, and it's real. It exists. It's a great thing. People's hatred for other people that's unjustified. That's a whole nother story. That's the way that people are raised. That's the way people are taught. That's a cultural mistake. But it's in every country. It's not exclusive to the United States. I hate to admit, Denmark is ranked #1 racist country in the world.
Really? Did not know that.
But you would go there and you don't see signs of racism anywhere. Because the 3 major cities are very diverse, very progressive, and but it makes me sad, to know that. So you can look at things and statistics and this and blah 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 blah, but when you're face to face with nice people, they're just nice people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if we all turned off, maybe not turned off the internet, but got on the internet less and talked to each other in real life and sat down and had conversations. I mean, 2 of my favorite guests that I've had on the show, Michael Sweet from Striper, Doug Pinnick from King's X, 2 completely opposite, I'm sure politically, views, but, and they said, Michael told me that the 2 of them have sat down and had long conversations about life and religion and all that stuff. And I'm like, I love that. I love to hear that those 2 guys can have conversations together, because I love both of them. And, it's great that if they can get past it, why can't we all do it?
Well, George and Michael had some interesting conversations.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I heard. But no, I mean, I did 2 records with Michael, and the reason I did them was to prove that religion's not going to destroy what Michael and I do best, and that's make metal.
But did you ever talk to him about, did you guys ever have long discussions or no?
Yeah, we laugh about it because he knows that I'm 100% atheist. I'm actually a Satanist, and that's going to offend a lot of people because they don't know what that is, but I don't give a shit. But we laugh about it, because he has his thing, I have my thing. But I don't hate him or dislike him, because he has his beliefs, and he's very fond of me, even though I have my beliefs, which I don't have any beliefs. So, but I love having dinner with him. I love making music with him. I love doing these things. And I mean, and Sunbomb is such a great example of none of that shit matters.
Right. Well, that's what I think the glue that holds the world together is music. Like that is the one thing where everyone can come together, maybe sports too, maybe other entertainment, but definitely music. I feel like it brings people together from all different kinds of backgrounds. And like you said earlier with some of your songs, like they have different meanings to different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything in life has a different meaning, to different people, something as simple as like a key, everybody knows it's a key, but the three people are going to argue, well, that's for a shed. No, that's for a front door. No, that's definitely for a back door. You know what I mean? Like everybody makes up right away through their experience what they see because it's been ingrained. And we're all brainwashed one way or the other. I mean, you can't deny that. That's just human nature. We got a big computer on top of us.
Right.
And all you do is input information constantly, and the computer doesn't always know what to make of that information.
Yeah, I just love to. I think that the problem is a lot of people are always trying to convince everybody else what they think is right. I'm trying to do more of let me listen to you and let me try to understand why you think the way you think or you feel the way you feel. Like, and then I think you're right. Like a lot of it comes back from how their upbringing. If somebody in Manhattan is going to have a completely different upbringing than someone in Wyoming, and hence different beliefs and stances on things.
Right. And the thing that gets me into trouble on the internet is that if somebody just lies, people lie.
Right. There's a lot of that. The media lies.
Yeah, they do. And when you're repeating lies over and over again, then you really believe the lies, and that's what being pathological is. What you got, buddy? Oh man, you look good. All right. So much rest. And there is ways to finding out the truth. But a lot of people, because they've already input the lie so many times, they see the truth and they reject the truth. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for the one believing the lie. That's worse for the person believing the lie. Because
right.
then you look foolish.
Yeah, and some of these lies, they do damage. Some people believe these lies so much that they're willing to break the law to go to bat for the, I mean, it was like, I don't want to get into specifics, but both parties, like January 6th, like people, they believe this, like the election is, they're breaking the law to, and so, yeah, a lot of this stuff is dangerous. That's why I say, if people could just turn off the internet, just some of the time, I'm guilty of it myself. I need to turn off the internet more too, but yeah, I think that could be sitting down and talking with each other. I think we would realize we have way more in common than we have apart.
Well, here's a personal example, and you're right. I was talking to my little guy's mom this morning because I was going to organize a trip for my big kid and my little kid. We were going to have summer vacation, drive up north of California and see some cool shit in July. And the little one's Danish and his mom's obviously Danish. And so we're talking this morning. I go, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or, I want to plan this for July, so Oli and Jagger can, spend some time together this summer. And she paused for a long time. And then she goes, honestly, I'm scared to death to travel to America right now. And I'm like, oh, right. And then she told me that, she knows some stories of some people getting stuck, in customs here and being kind of carted away, not being given an opportunity to call a lawyer or to call anybody. So there's a travel warning from Denmark to here because it's too dangerous or mysterious and you don't know who they're going to pick. People coming through the border. And that's a fact. Like, that's affecting my family right now. there's no part of that I could have made up. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's now affecting my life. The lies.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Yeah. It does seem like there's some cloudiness around the immigration stuff right now. And what's happened, I don't know. That's that is a little bit concerning though, for sure, especially for someone that needs to travel. I mean, I think we go to, I'm in Arizona, and we used to go to Rocky Point, Mexico. It's just across. It's so awesome. But now they're saying like, you got to get a special, cause I have a passport, but there's like some sort of ID or something that we need to get. I'm like, what? Like, this was always
no. You can't go to Mexico with just a passport anymore. You have to fill out paperwork now. That's a relative.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
6 months, 7 months. Yeah. You know, because of all the shit that we've been screaming, you know, they want to know who's coming into there because, see, what people don't know is that Americans traffic guns into Mexico. See, everybody's always focused on fentanyl coming from Mexico. And yes, it's definitely a problem. And our border patrol has been amazing at it. They've been getting all the fentanyl. They've been finding it. But Americans track guns down to Mexico, you know, firearms. But nobody here ever talks about it. You know what I mean? So this way, with their new background checks, who's coming in, you know, they're doing eye scans, they're doing everything just like we do. And, you know, you and I, you know, a year ago could have got in my Volkswagen bus and drove down to Tijuana and had a good old time. Nobody would have gave a shit. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, fuck, that sucks. Yeah, because I love Rocky Point. It's so nice. And it's like funny because people are scared to go. Like, that's another thing that I feel like is misinformation. There's so many of my friends I can't convince to go to Mexico because they're just like, no, Mexico's not safe. I'm like, okay, this is Rocky Point. This is like, I'm trying to explain like,
what it is.
Mexico City. Rocky Point is like a small town. It's like, if it'd be like going to, you know, Wyoming, like a small town in Wyoming, it's totally safe. It's like amazing. Right. Safer than Phoenix, I think.
Right. Oh, I'm sure it is.
The people down there are so kind and grateful. Like, it's just such you know, they love when you go into a restaurant, they're like, oh, senor, come on in. Like, they're so happy and grateful. You get the best service. It's like amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you find that in most places, people are like that. That's what I'm saying, is that whatever your preconceived notion is, because you heard it on the internet, you go to any of these horrible places and you're going to be greeted with open arms. You know, people are going to treat you really good until you're a dick. And then, then they won't treat you really good. You know, the internet's a problem. And they said it was a problem from day one. They said it was going to be a problem, and it is.
Yeah. Well, just wait till this interview comes out. Like, because the thing is like, somebody was saying something the other day about, I think it was there was a clip I saw of Joe Rogan saying that podcasts are going to be the way to, you know, to bring people together, and it's going to dispel the misinformation, all this. And I'm like, yes, if people listen to the full podcast. The problem is people are only listening to a short clip or the headline, and I guarantee you with this interview, there'll be some headline. And no offense to Blabbermouth, I love them. I think they do a great job. I think they promote music in my podcast, but I think people should try to listen to the full interviews as much as they can, and they will really get the gist of the whole conversation and not have things taken out of context.
Well, I think I said it recently in a podcast where everything's about the headline. You know, that's where the attention grab. So the headline's everything. You know, and for as informative as Blabbermouth is, it's headlined in a tabloid way. You know, and
but I understand that, and I get when I see the headlines, I go, oh, okay, and if you read more and if you listen to the interview, then you understand it more. But see, I think a lot of people don't do that.
No,
they just see the headline.
No. It's only headline. Yeah. You know, it's the same way. That's why Twitter used to be so great, because you could only type, like, I don't remember what it was, like 100 words.
180 characters, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's like so fast, right? You get your info. So now, like I remember in 2016, on all the news stations, all of a sudden, everything was breaking news. Everything.
That's so true.
Everything is breaking news since 2016. It's been 9 years, and everything is still breaking news. And then the sound has gotten louder when it comes in. Breaking news, gong gong. So if you understand that headline is created to be the first thing in your mind, and then it should interest you enough to go read the details, but most people don't. You know, I saw on blah 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 this. It's like, yeah,
I've fallen for it so many times too. And I've learned now, okay, like, wait a minute, let me read the details on this. This sounds like a little fishy. Oh, wait. And even in the article, if you read down paragraph 3, it says like, oh, well, this is a maybe this might happen kind of thing or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's all, but if everybody step back and, blabbermouth, whatever, podcast, whatever. If everybody step back and realize how unimportant most of this information is to their personal life. You know what I mean? Because there are some things on the internet that are very important to people's lives in a positive way and in a negative way. But focusing on, like here, Metallica, right? Hetfield comes out really talking about the issues that he's been through. I'm sure millions of people have heard his story and it's helped them. Because he's the angry guy, right? Like he's fucking James Hetfield. And he comes out, he's like, coming home off tour, I'd be angry, I'd drink, go to the market, didn't even know who I was. These are personal things that he exposed. And that's what a real man does. A real man exposes his shortcomings so he can become a better man. And that's like, I got so much respect for that dude. And I've known that guy for so long. I think I've only had 4 conversations with him in my life, but they've all been, 3 of them were amazing, and 1 he was drunk. And we were alone at the Scrap Bar in New York City in 91. And when he was drunk, he was a completely different person.
Wow.
But I was with him at another real critical time, backstage at Donington in 2004. I was with the Brides, and I went to their little they had a big backstage area, and there was nobody back there but me and Kurt. And I guess Robert was there. I didn't see him, and James. And Lars wasn't coming, but they didn't tell me, right? Like they were acting like, Trace, fuck, what's up, man? This is so rad, you're playing, and And then talking to James for a minute, he goes, I don't want to cut this short, but we got a little situation right now I'm trying to deal with. So, let's talk more later. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like, that's how cool those dudes are. Like Lars was not coming, and he did not come. They were headlining Donington.
Well, who played drums then? I don't remember this.
Corey Taylor's drummer, and Dave Lombardo did most of the set.
Wow.
It was great.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But, these guys are setting examples for young men, and it's much better to lead them in the right direction.
I agree.
You don't glorify heroin. You don't glorify heroin use. You don't glorify alcoholism. You don't glorify these things. You talk about your personal experiences with tragic events and what you learned from them. And that's how you teach young men if you're in a position like that. Be strong. Don't hide your shit or else it'll get worse.
Yeah, well, I think you had that conversation with Duff. I think I heard you talking about that.
We did.
Yeah, and that's he does kickboxing now because that's the other thing I feel like people are like, okay, like quit drugs, quit alcohol. Okay, now, but now what do you do? Because you still got that
He
anxiety.
smoke. He smoke, and it's fucked.
Yeah, at least you won't get. I mean, kill you, but kill
Well,
you slower, I guess.
well, everybody dies of something.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny you brought up the Duff thing because I was walking by. He was in a I think it was jujitsu. He was kickboxing.
Yeah.
I walked by and I go, "That's Duff." And this is a long time ago now, like 20 years ago. So I just walked in, and he's like, "Tracii, what the fuck, man?" You know, like we hadn't seen each other forever. And so we finished up. He only had like 10 minutes left, and he said to Kristen, he goes, "Hey man, can I take Tracii home? You know, we haven't talked about it." And Chris like, "Yeah, see you later." And so we get it in the car, and he lights up a cigarette. He's been kickboxing for an hour, and we're smoking cigarettes. He goes, "You know, it's the one thing, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," but you know, he had gone through solid therapy and rehabilitation and all these things, and everything that trouble he got into was from anxiety.
Yeah.
Was the uncontrollable scenario, whatever it is. And he's the first guy that ever talked to me about it. Because I told him, because I knew that that's what he went through. And he's like, at the end of the day, it's your life. You make your own decisions, man. Don't let anybody tell you what you have to do. You know what's right for you. And if you feel like you're missing out on opportunities, well, seek help. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of that conversation, And, so, do I regret leaving Guns N' Roses? No, because 15 years later, I had a conversation with Duff about anxiety that changed my life. You know what I mean? It's like,
Did it though? So wait, you weren't doing drugs and shit like that? Because Deacon
no,
said you don't even like drink that much or anything.
no. I mean, I'm a good drinker. I can have like a half a margarita. I feel great. Yeah, and I've always been that way. If I have like 2 or 3 shots, I'm sick. I can't drink. And yeah, no, I've tried most drugs. How could I not have? Back then. But never got into them. But still dealt with the artist anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Thank God. The problem is I'm scared to death of drugs. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, that is good. Yeah, I remember when I met Duff when he was playing with Slash a Snake Pit. When you talk about like, people being role models and stuff, and I was a young kid. I was like 17 or something. And I remember it was in Seattle, and he gave me an autograph, and his hand was like shaking. I mean, I still have it somewhere, and he was so fucked up. And then to see him, now he's writing books like How to Be a Man, and he's got like a 6-pack. He's in shape, and it's like, which Duff do I want to be? Like, I'd rather be the Duff now. Like, I think he's got his shit together, and he's doing great, and I love it. I love to see people happy and doing well.
He is doing well, and he's the type of person that you can look at and understand what it's like to appreciate the great things that you have in your life. And that's where there's a big turnaround for him because, I remember the first day I ever met him, was at the very first Guns N' Roses rehearsal with him. He was a friend. He lived across the street from Izzy. Izzy told me about him, came in. He was the nicest guy in the world. He was drinking at like 10 in the morning, but he was the nicest guy in the world and probably the most well-rounded musician I had ever played with at that time because he was in like some kind of cover band. And we're in a tribute band, but like a cover band that plays a multiple, new wave and rock and roll and punk rock and, pop music, so he's a very good musician, very smart guy. He was the guy I drove home with after the last Guns N' Roses gig and told him that this wasn't for me. You know what I mean? And I felt safe telling him that without him getting angry like I knew Izzy would, but he'd be passive about it. And then, Axl obviously got angry. But he's a really good person, man. And when he went through all the stuff and came out on the other end, it was one of those moments I was just like, phew, like he did it, and it's harder to do what he did to get through that than almost anything else you could go through in your life. I mean, his skin was peeling off his hands. He would play with gloves on, because his hands were so screwy, from vodka, stuff like that. And instead of dying, he wanted to live, and he did. And he's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I think I heard his pancreas busted or something. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that all the guys from Guns N' Roses and all the guys from Motley Crue are still alive. Like, it's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. I think Izzy checked out and got smart real quick. To be fair with Axl, I don't think Axl was ever into heavy drug abuse.
Right.
He's a little bit different than the rest of the guys. And I think Slash kind of just did his thing for a while, and I don't know Slash well enough anymore to I wasn't around him when he was drinking heavy and doing dope, so I can't say anything. But when we were young, teenagers, I remember the first time he bought one of them little bottles of Jack Daniels. We were still riding bikes. I wasn't driving yet. He's like, "Hey, you should try some of this." I'm like, "Ah, man, my dad drinks that shit."
Interesting.
But they did. But I mean, the Stones and it's kind of synonymous with rock and roll, drugs, right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But it was never cool. It was fun for the party, and then the party got out of hand. Simple as that.
Yeah, I wonder too if there's this maybe a movement now among young people of being more healthy, and I mean, there's so many of these I don't know. I mean, I don't know how what the percentages are of people who follow this or follow that, but there's a lot of young workout, people on Instagram and stuff that are all about working out, and eating healthy, and all that. And so, I mean, there's other role models to follow, I guess.
Yeah, there certainly are. I mean, I feel like the mystique of a rock and roll band or a musician, that's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, unless you're just completely anonymous and you just show up and play and put out records, and you don't ever say anything, so the mystique's gone. So if you have followers that really love you, that's dangerous power. You know what I mean? Because no matter what you say, they're gonna stick up with you. You know what I mean? So in my case, anyways, I try to keep things very blunt, very short, very direct, very to the point, and very truthful. I won't step out of my lane. I don't know what I'm talking about. And just clarity and transparency has never been more important in society than right now, man. Sometimes I feel like society is just a ticking time bomb. The only upside to that is I think Americans can be so lazy about things that they're not going to start a civil war. And who wants to be that uncomfortable, right? That's a harsh reality to look at, where other countries, they get right out in the streets and they go for blood.
Things are too good here for a civil war, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, if the truck,
I hope we're too good.
Yeah, I think if the food trucks stop coming, I mean, you saw a little bit of that during the pandemic when people were fighting each other for toilet paper. I mean, that was kind of a taste. Okay, if the food trucks stop coming, shit is going to go down. But as long as the trucks keep coming, I think we'll be okay.
Well, some of the food trucks have stopped coming to the food banks.
Really?
And yes, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
So the recent one was in Cleveland, I believe, where they had 21 or 22 trucks full. Last minute, they said, no, only send 17 trucks. They cut 4 or 5 trucks off, which was some estimated ridiculous amount of money and food. And they didn't redirect the food anywhere. They just made the trucks park, and all that food rotted. So these are the kinds of things that are going on in our country right now. And it's just like, why? Why? You know, like somebody made an interesting point of with all these cuts and things that they're trying to do, that the percentage of money, and if it was all factual and true, what was being said, what they were doing, was somewhere near like $1 billion in savings or something like that. That $1 billion doesn't affect our economy. It's such a low percentage of the economy, but what it did is it disrupted thousands of people's lives. People got fired illegitimately and illegally, and so the balance, again, everything in life is the benefit greater than the hardship. And if you don't do life like that, where the benefit outweighs the hardship, you're going to lose every time.
I have the solution though. I think I don't know. I think a majority of people would agree with me on this, with the budget cuts and all this, because we are 36 trillion in debt or whatever. But how about we cut some of the military? Like, is anybody really going to miss that? Do we really need? I don't know how much they're spending on it, but it's like, I mean, we could cut some of that the military bases around the world and all the money spent on war. I think we could cut that. I think there's some fat to be chopped off there.
Well, I think there's definitely fat everywhere. You know what I mean? That's historically true. You don't want to fuck with the military though, because the one thing that gives America strength is the technology in our military. So the farther we progress in our military, the less American lives we put at stake, right? So like if we don't have to leave our country to take care of some business for somebody else somewhere else, and just send technology, well, that's a win for us. You know what I mean? It really is. That's a good thing. But the problem is, from a financial point of view, because that's what people care about money. They care about comfort, right? It's really upside down. And I just speak through experience living in Denmark as well, that there's no minimum wage there. There's a living wage, and the bottom wage is based on basically what a 1-bedroom apartment costs. You know what I mean? And what food costs, what insurance costs, and you get paid that amount of money. On top of that amount of money is added 40% tax, right? So let's say the living wage there is $25, right? And they're taking away 10 of it, right? Well, that $15 an hour that you get to take home is enough to not worry, because your health care is free, right? You've gone to college, you've got a degree. So all you can do is make money, right? All you can do is make money. And then what people don't realize is they get tax returns just like we do, and tax refunds. So, I went and did this, I did this, I had to get this for my apartment, my car needed a tire, blah, blah, blah. You get all that money back. You know what I mean? So the safety net is in place in those older countries, to really protect the citizens. So the citizens truly come first. And that starts by giving them the basic needs that every human should have to be in a good state of mind. It eliminates the worry. And here, I was talking to my girlfriend, waitresses in Texas still make $2.16 an hour plus tips. But they make $2.16 an hour. Like, why?
Because they factor in the tip. Yeah. That's why, like, if someone stiffs you, like, it really fucks you, because you're already taxed on that money that they expect you to get. And so, yeah.
So, but like, why even bother with the $16 a day for 8-hour shifts? I mean, it's like that, if gas is $2.50, like that's $16. It could give you half a tank of gas, I guess, but you have to work a whole day for half a tank of gas. Like, see, so shit's fucked up here. You know, it's just not, it's not right. And that balance just doesn't seem to being addressed at all. You know, I think that, you know, minimum wage was raised to like $15 in most places. Here it's quite good now. It's like it's over $19, and but it's expensive to live here. You know what I mean? And
you're in California?
yeah,
yeah.
You know, so you know, if people aren't making what they deserve, or if the equation is impossible to have one job and have your own apartment and car and cell phone and food, then the system's broken. You know,
definitely a lot of especially like you mentioned, the healthcare. I mean, I don't know anybody that can say that our healthcare system is just so broken. I don't even know what the solution is, but I'm open to like any possibilities at this point, because it's ridiculous. Like how much it costs, and they don't tell you how much it's going to cost. You get a bill later. I remember when I first basically like became an adult and I had health insurance, I thought I had my appendix out and I thought, oh, I have health insurance that'll pay for everything. It was like, I was getting bills like years later. They're still trying to bill me for things that, and it was like separate bills. And I was like, what is going on with this? This is ridiculous.
See, most other countries don't have that problem.
Yeah.
You know, we're the wealthiest country in the world, despite this debt we're in. You know, the whole debt fantasy is you know, and we're going more and more into debt every day right now. There's plenty of money for everybody. You know, like we got this one guy getting paid $8 billion a day, you know, for a space thing. You know, it's like, all right, maybe not pay him, you know, I don't know, 32 billion, you know, cut that out of his daily 1 week kind of thing. And let's put that, you know, straight into the communities, you know, so people can go get their prescriptions and go see the doctor. And, you know, it's easy to fix. It's real easy to fix.
Tracii Guns for president.
Hell no. Hell no,
Yeah.
man. No way. And, you know, and the thing, people think that I care about politics, you know. I don't give a shit about politics. I hate liars. You know,
You care about people. I could tell that.
I do. I care about people. And, you know, the hatred toward each other is totally counterproductive. And it's obviously something that somebody wants to happen. You know, it's just unfortunate, man.
Yeah. Well, I try to love everybody, even if they're different or if we think differently. Like I want to learn about people. I want to know why you think that way, why you feel that way. And I think, like I said, I think usually you find more common ground than differences. But
I agree. I agree with that, especially when people speak of a place that's not based on I have to be right all the time.
exactly. Yeah. I would rather be like, okay, so here, I'll give you an example. Like you've heard of this drug Ozempic or whatever, right?
Huh?
Yeah. It's like a weight loss drug. I seen all this stuff about side effects and people having terrible issues. I am not a fan of this drug. I hope that I am wrong. I hope that it's a totally safe drug, but I have this bad feeling in 5 years or whatever, there's going to be lawsuits or whatever. I mean, I've already seen people get hurt from this drug. I have no skin in the game, right? I'm not taking it,
right.
You know, but it's like, I just see all these people that are taking it and I don't think they understand how dangerous it is. I hope that I'm wrong. I don't want to be right. I would rather be wrong. I hope that I'm a conspiracy wacko and that the drug is totally safe. But I don't know. I just worry about people, friends that I know that are taking the drug. And so, yeah, I would rather be wrong. So that's a perfect thing to say about the people that want to be right. I don't want to be right with some of this stuff. I'd rather be wrong.
I'd rather be wrong too. And, you know, speaking of Ozempic and drugs in general, again, it's the same choice. It's like, do the benefits outweigh the risk, right?
It does for if you're like 500 pounds. I think it is worth it because you might die if you don't lose the weight. Now, someone who's like 20 pounds overweight, they're risking their health to look a little bit better. I mean, that's just vain. And I don't know. It's dangerous to me.
You're literally, it helps you to starve yourself is what it does. That's what it does. It makes you not hungry. It makes your meal size decrease by like, you know, 80%, you know. So I have some friends that have done it, and they don't look healthy.
Right. Because it takes away your muscle mass.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, they drop the weight, they look thin, but they don't look healthy. And, I'm pudgy. I could definitely stand and lose 10 or 15 pounds, but I'm healthy. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, man, I wish I looked like I did when I was 25, but I'm 59. You know what I mean? And I don't want to do something artificially to make myself look like the skinny, glam rock star guy. I like the way I feel, and a lot of that when I was younger, I didn't eat, and my anxiety got really bad. I had malnutrition. Yeah, I had like no protein in my blood. And the only way to get protein back into your blood is you have to replace amino acids that you've lost along the way. It took a while. So when I finally started feeling normal again, still had anxiety, but I started feeling normal. That's when I started getting a little bit pudgy because I was eating. So
back in the day, did you purposefully like starve yourself to be skinny? Or like
no, I didn't eat. I just, we'd be on tour, and I remember, we'd stop in a truck stop and I'd get a donut in the morning, and then whatever was around for lunch, maybe a cheeseburger or something, maybe. And then, after the shows, like whatever leftover pizza was around, I'd eat a couple pieces. That went on for years. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever put a head of broccoli on my plate or nothing. So by the time I was 27, we'd been touring since I was 21. By the time I was 27, I had no nutrition in my blood. I looked great, but I felt absolutely terrible. I had vertigo all the time. I felt like I was weak. Yeah. So, but like the drug loss magic or the weight loss magic drugs have been around forever. And, it's all about a person's metabolism. You know what I mean? It's like, if you really want to be fit, then be fit, but don't fake it. You know what I mean? It's like, unless, like you said, you're 500 pounds, 300 pounds overweight, whatever. Yeah, you're morbid, you can die. Yeah, but the vanity, kind of stuff is historically unhealthy. I remember the Fen diet.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of with Ozempic. I was like, oh, I've seen this movie before. This is like the Fen thing. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, but people are going to do what people are going to do. We shouldn't judge them. I wish the drug companies didn't push these things the way they do. Denmark, there's no drug advertisement anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think America and New Zealand are the only two countries that allow prescription drugs to advertise.
It's crazy, man. Everybody 10 years younger than me, who that's still an old person, is sitting at home, watching these commercials, and they go, that's me. I have to have that.
Do you get sad? Do sometimes you feel like life is hard? Yeah, that's me. I need that drug.
Exactly. And it's fucked up, man, because like a couple of the closest people to me are diagnosed in a way where they really need these drugs and they take them and they're efficient, but they're diagnosed. Like they didn't want to be diagnosed like that. Right. They didn't ask to be diagnosed like that, but they get the drug. And, people in that kind of condition, they don't take just one drug. They have to take a few little things to get their chemistry together, And when you see the advertisements for it, it's like, is your bipolar medicine not working? Well, add this little motherfucker. Could cause you to die, but call your doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of bullshit is that, man? Like, fuck.
It's all about the money. It's all like, that's the problem with our healthcare in the country is it's like, it's so much about money and profit and not about just making people healthier. I mean, we would be a lot healthier if we took less pharmaceuticals. Yes, there are instances where people are diabetic, they need insulin. And, you know, your buddy Axl Rose, I think he was bipolar. He probably takes lithium. I mean, there's all sorts of things where people need pharmaceuticals, but yeah, like, should we just be prescribing them like candy? I mean, it's like, it's overprescribed. That's what I think.
Well, and I'll tell you a big difference through experience is like here, you can get, I was put on Paxil when I was in the Brides.
Oh, my brother took that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason they put me on it, they asked me what my parents were taking. They didn't diagnose me then with anything. They were just like, blah, blah, blah. And Nikki took me to the doctor, and he was taking Prozac at the time, and it worked really well for him. And so I was having those issues. I didn't want to fly on a plane, you know, like those kind of agoraphobic things that I went through. Took the Paxil and it helped, right? It helped a lot. It also would make me violently angry, you know, so I'd be fine, and then something would trigger me, and like I could get really violent. Didn't hurt anybody, almost though, and took it on and off for like 10 years, and I came off it, and I lost some weight because, you know, that's the one thing Paxil, it makes you a little pudgy. But at the end, it gave me a stomach ache every day for like 5 or 10 minutes. So I knew I was poisoning myself. You know what I mean? It's like if you're having the same side effect every day, it doesn't go away. You know, it's kind of a weird thing. So anyways, my point is that you can get drugs here without getting a diagnosis.
Right.
In Denmark, you cannot get drugs without a diagnosis. You know, you have to be tested. They have to put you through things. They'll give you like 5 Valium type things to get you through the process to calm you down. But to get a real SSRI or these kind of drugs, you have to be diagnosed with something. And the diagnosis is a double checked diagnosis. It's not just one doctor. A year and a half ago, I got diagnosed with something, and I was told that Paxil would be the absolute worst thing I could take for my diagnosis.
Wow.
And I was like, and I told him, I go, yeah, because, you know, I felt really good. I felt kind of normal until I got angry.
Huh.
And that kind of anger I had is the inability to respond. It's a reaction. Like, it's kind of like the same reaction like when you're on Amazon and you're like, I'm buying that. You know, like that's when I was taking Paxil. My anger was like that. Like, oh, you pissed me off, I'm just going to tear your throat out. You know, that's psychotic.
Yeah.
That's fucking absolutely psychotic. So, anyways, when I got the diagnosis and I said, well, what should I, you know, is there some medication for it? Number one, getting the diagnosis made everything make sense. Number two, they do not make medication for adults for my diagnosis. So they're like, well, you know, you can do cognitive therapy like I have been doing for years. And, but sometimes getting the diagnosis really puts your mind in the position to kind of be its own cure, its own balancer. You know what I mean? Because not all mental health is a chemical imbalance. You know, it's environmental, it's genetic, it's so many things. But in this country, we just hand out drugs.
Yeah.
And they want to get paid for the drugs.
Right. Yeah. And I think, and I don't blame all the doctors too, because they're, you know, they get 5 minutes with you and that's what they do. It's Western medicine is prescription drug. I mean, I wish more doctors would say, hey, could you try this first? You know, try meditation, try exercise, try journaling and all these other things before we put you on a pill, you know?
Right. Well, like my last therapist, Laura, she was also like, you know, she wouldn't prescribe anything until we got to a certain point where it's like, well, am I the right, you know, doctor for you? And, you know, we got through 2 years and we came to a conclusion with a different doctor. And then that was kind of it, you know, and just kind of finding out some things about yourself. That's a problem about being a man, right? Most of us, we deny anything's wrong forever.
Right.
Like,
I
hey,
think it makes you more anxious.
it does. It's absolutely horrible. You're scared of everything. You don't want to know about anything. You're not going to act on anything. I'm just fine. It's like, no, you're not. you know? And a lot of it had to do with just looking back at the men on my dad's side of the family. They're all alcoholics. Everybody died of something alcoholic related. So they were just self-medicating for fucking generations. And me and my uncle were the last generation, other than my sons, and we're not alcoholics. So like somehow we made the cut. But we've probably just dealt with the same issues everybody had in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people have that anxiety. I mean, that's how we're wired. We're wired to like fight or flight. It's like it's in our, because we were supposed to be out in the woods, like fighting woolly mammoths or whatever. And so now we're like in like a normal society and we're trying to like turn that off. It's easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny when you have kids, and I have two boys, seeing like their natural responses to danger, without like filling their heads with full of like, oh, don't do that. That's going to give you cooties, don't do that. But just watching them discover danger on their own and seeing what their response is, and they're both very careful. They're very careful. They're suspicious of dark shadows and things that they don't know about, but they don't freak out about them. They just go, ooh, I'm not sure about that. No. That's kind of, because, that's the thing about my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend with the two kids. We don't brainwash our kids. We don't fill them full of unnecessary information and scare tactics to keep them in line and stuff like that. We try to lead by example, and so far so good, but like my mom, she's so funny, like, oh, don't ever do drugs, right? And then I'm like 19, and she's selling blow. Like, do a little bit of this, it'll make you feel good. Like, okay. What the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? So it's been around me my whole life, and the hypocrisy of all of it. And, drugs lead nowhere good. I promise everybody listening to this, nothing good comes from taking drugs. Nothing. I mean, unless you need it for a medical condition. But, doing heroin one time is not going to lead to anything good. Doing a couple rails of blow, you don't know where it's going to lead you, man. And it ain't going to lead you somewhere good. It's just not going to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that wisdom, and especially yourself being in a rock band for so long.
Yeah, as I light up a cigarette.
Yeah.
That being said, it only takes one cigarette to give you cancer.
No, I think I heard something like, maybe this is fake news, I don't know. I heard something that you could smoke 6 cigarettes a day and it wouldn't have any effect on your health, or it wouldn't increase your cancer risk, supposedly. I don't know if there's truth to that.
So you got to know that that's kind of a bologna sandwich, because everybody lives in a different amount of pollution, right?
Yeah.
Like, in LA, we have a little bit of pollution. It's not like it was, but in Mexico City, they have heavy pollution. You go up in the altitude, there's no pollution, things like that. So how can they say, like 6 cigarettes is okay? Now,
I don't know. Yeah. It sounded like a bullshit. It's kind of like that thing, like if you do acid, it stays in your system for 7 years, or if you swallow a piece of gum, it stays in your system for 7 years. Like,
yeah, but there's some truth to it, because, we're talking about cigarettes now. Most cigarettes, including these, I don't smoke the organic ones, they have cancer-causing chemicals in them. There's radiation in most tobacco, that's part of the growing process. And that certainly causes cancer, so it's obviously better to smoke something that doesn't have radiation in it.
Wait, you said you do smoke organic or you don't?
No, I don't. I don't. And I have,
Oh,
but it doesn't have that same radiation, that I guess I'm addicted to.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
You
so
taste the difference or feel the difference.
something's different about them. But like, first of all, don't smoke. Second of all, don't smoke. Third of all, if you do smoke, at least try to smoke organic cigarettes because
Yeah.
they don't have the added chemicals and radiation in the tobacco.
What about the e-cigarettes? Like I remember you did that for a while, didn't you?
I still do, like, if I have to, a situation. But you know what? I'll tell you something that's a big mystery to me is I can get on those 9.5, 11.5 hour flights. I don't even think about smoking once.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, who knows what the fuck, man.
That's crazy because I would think you'd be jonesing for one.
Yeah.
Especially, like I feel like I don't even smoke and I want a cigarette when I'm on a long flight. It's so fucking anxiety provoking being
Well,
on.
that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. I read this book called "Quit Smoking the Easy Way," and they sit there explaining to you over and over and over, and you don't think you're going to quit because it's just like, okay, are they going to get to the point already? But they convince you that the nicotine isn't very addictive, and it really isn't. You don't wake up in the middle of the night jonesing for a cigarette, right? But what becomes addictive is this little friend you have with you all the time that calms you down while getting a little hit of nicotine, while filling your lungs with warm smoke, while soothing yourself. So it's all about this action. It's all about this comfort level that cigarettes do bring. And there's nothing good about it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I had this guy, addiction specialist in LA. I think his name is it Addy Jaffe or something? He's like really good. I think he works with Nikki Sixx. I think Nikki Sixx follows him. But yeah, he's got a book. It's really interesting. It's all, and he talks about those kinds of things, how you get addicted to stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, addiction, it can be anything, right? Like it's like it's a pattern you create in your life. And it could be anything. It could be sex. It could be television. It could be your favorite hobby. Those are all addictions. And hopefully most addictions, like eating well, are positive, but, I mean, people have vices, they just do, and people, their coping mechanisms and ways to deal with reality. And, like my mortality is like, I'm going to be 60 in a year. It's like, God damn, 60 years old. Like, I don't feel 60, I don't feel 30, but that's the reality, I mean, there's mortality, and I try to process it. I try not to stick it in the back of my brain. It's going, yeah, by the time I die, I'll be ready. All right, cool. That's it. Like, that's the whole conversation,
Dang. Yeah, I know. I remember when I turned 30, I thought that was so scary. And then 40, and now, 50's on the horizon. It's like, dang, I don't feel like those ages. I still feel like I'm a kid. Like,
yeah.
Listen to LA Guns. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's good because, you are kind of as young as you feel, as you think, because, you can see men that are 30 and 35, they feel old. And so they are old. And it's because of their lifestyle and their environment. And, and that's the one thing, man, for all the protests against rock and roll throughout the years and all these things, sure keeps you young. It sure keeps you feeling good. It's good for the spirit. It really is.
Yeah, no, I love that spirit of rock. I think that's what I loved as a young kid, listening to the Metallica and Guns N' Roses and LA Guns. Like, there was this attitude of like, fuck you, like, we're gonna do what we want to do. I'm like, oh, I wish I had this attitude. I'm just like a little kid, but yeah.
Right. And sometimes that gets interpreted in a strange way where, there's people out there that think that all us bad boy rockers were like anti-government or something. Like they mistake that, like, fight the man. Yes, fight the bad man. Not just fight any man. Yeah, it's about fight the bad man, and it always was about, starting with fucking, Arlo and Woody Guthrie and all that. It's fight the bad man. Don't let the bad man win. And everybody's had those convictions, and that's a big part of rock and roll. A big part of rock culture is freedom.
Yeah, I think for me it was more of an individual thing. Like it wasn't about like the system, or it was it was just like me as a person, like fighting bullies or whatever, like other kids that were assholes. I was like, I wish I could have this more of this like bravado that you guys had. I thought it was, I remember seeing like pictures of LA Guns, and like I just remember looking and like, you guys look so cool. I was like, wow, these guys, like, they got the nose ring and like the tattoos and the hair, and I was like, God, I wish I like had this confidence and this look.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right.
And that's
Right.
so crazy to hear, like, oh, you have anxiety. I'm like, so you're just as real as I am. Like,
oh, absolutely. And the greatest thing about our scene was that there was, 3 or 4 bands that all hung out together. We all looked like that. We all had that confidence because we had that brotherhood. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like a safety gang. I think even the Motley Crue fan club at one point was called Sin, Safety in Numbers. And that was a big part of it, is, being part of a scene, knowing everybody's got your back, you have everybody's back, and it was good. And the I will say one thing about that whole 80s scene. I think for the 6 or 7 years or 5 years before we actually went on tour, I saw 2 fist fights the whole time. There was not tons of fighting. There was not tons of bravado. Some of the fights that sucked were like, Izzy got in a fight with me once. We punched each other. Axl and Nader got in a couple fights. Izzy and Nader got in a fight. But beyond that, those were very personal reasons why those fights happened. But out in the scene, nobody was taking sides. Nobody was.
Did you get into a fight with the singer of Contraband? I heard a rumor about that. I don't know. I never could.
I threw a table at him. At our very first show, which was a big tour. It was Rat and LA Guns and Contraband, and I think Bang Tango was the first band too. Yeah, they were. Maybe not. I don't remember.
I have Contraband. It wasn't Michael Schenker on the bill too. Yeah.
Well, he was in Contraband.
Yeah, but did he not do a solo thing too, or is he only?
No.
Okay.
So the band was me and Blotzer, Schenker, Richard Black, and Juan Crucier. And we go up there to do like all the way from Memphis or whatever the first song of the set would have been. And Richard walks up and his mic's not working. So instead of grabbing one of the other mics, he decides, fuck this. I'm out of here. Right? And Michael looks at me and he's like, oh shit. And I could tell that he was not happy. Me, I was like, I don't know how old, like 22 or 23. I was like, man, he was hiding in this back room. I ran through this long hallway at the Sunrise Music Hall in Sunrise, Florida. And my manager was chasing me. He's like, you got to find that fucker, because Kovac put that band together. You know what I mean? Like, this was his whole investment was in this band. I found him and Rich was looking at me like, what? And the only thing that was there was this fucking wood table with glasses. And I just picked it up and just threw it at him. And I turned around and I saw Kovac whip out $200 and he just walked up to Richard and said, see you later. And that was the end of it, That was really fucked up that he did that, and then we had to totally reconfigure what we were doing on the tour. And that was the end of Contraband, the first fucking day. And, LSD, I don't know what you call that shit. It's not cool though.
Oh, that's what he was on?
What?
He was taking LSD?
No, lead singer's disease.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So then did you never made up with him or never saw him again, or?
I think I have. I think I my mind and stuff. I mean, whatever. It was just that day. That was a shitty fucking day, man.
Yeah. So he was gonna quit. Like couldn't have just.
We don't know. But like, Kovac was like, wow, no, bye,
Okay.
see it, and I think I was so hyped up because, I had done the LA Guns set, and then we morphed into this weird Contraband that morphed into rap. So it was like, I think we were only going to do 3 or 4 songs every night. I don't even, I'm sure that was very small commitment. And I was all hyped up from playing, like, and we were on fire. I was skinny. I was ready to go. And yeah, so that happened, but I didn't lay a finger on it.
Yeah. No, it sounds. I mean, is it weird playing in those big super groups like that? Like, because it's so many egos and stuff. It's.
I don't know. I mean, I'm up for it. You know what I mean? Like, I really like the guys. You know what I mean? Like even Nikki. He's certainly a big bag of tricks. You know what I mean, to deal with. But ultimately, he's Nikki Sixx, and he has great magnetic qualities about him, and he's one of my biggest influences. So it's like I knew what I was getting into. You know what I mean? So I have more great memories than anything, than the outcome of it. But same with all the guys I've worked with, man. Everybody's different. And remember, going to work with all these guys, I go to work with them because I believe they're alphas, right? I believe that they're leaders in their genre or what they did, and I want to be part of what they did. You know what I mean? I'm just the guitar player. In any instance, I'm just the guitar player. I guess I'm the right guitar player, but still, I get involved with these other people because I respect them. I want to hear their point of view. I want to learn something from those experiences, and I want to create different music with those people. So, yeah, I mean, ego is a big part of it. And the greatest compliment I ever got was Nikki Sixx said somewhere, Tracii Guns, I've never met anybody with a bigger ego. I'm like, wow, Nikki Sixx thinks I have a big ego.
I never heard that quote. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's just silly. It's all silly. It's all just funny stuff. But yeah, in a hair metal band, which we're all in hair metal bands, whether they like it or not, it was all about ego. It was all about looking away, being loud, getting the chicks, making the money. We were very much like hip hop culture for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, there's not a big difference between Guns N' Roses and NWA. The message, and the lifestyle.
No, they actually, and I heard there's a rumor that Guns N' Roses and Eazy E had a collaboration. I don't think it's ever been released, but I'd be curious to hear what that sounds like.
Well, I know they did a couple shows together, if not a whole tour. I know NWA and Guns N' Roses or Eazy E, they had done shows together, whether they were festivals or just that. But I always thought that we were very much aligned because I was so into that early gangster rap.
Me too.
I was so into it. I related to it. I'd be driving around in my Corvette, 21 years old with our first record out, just cranking NWA and Ice-T. And that's it resonated with me, man. And then Beastie Boys, of course. It was like, wow, like it had the same angst as LA Guns. It's just like, yeah, this is the shit. And exactly. I used to always ask our agents, like, why can't we tour with a band, a hip hop band? Like, no. They're like, why not? That's not going to work. You have different audience. Yeah, but it's 2 audiences. Like, I was always thinking like that. I want to play in front of a hip hop crowd, man. I'll tear that shit down. Never happened.
Yeah, that's too bad because I know Public Enemy and Anthrax, they did their stuff and it worked. Like I see, for me, again, I go back to, I like eclectic. I like your new album. I like all the different stuff. I feel like if it's just every song sounds the same, I mean, nothing against AC/DC. I love AC/DC, but to me, that starts to get repetitive after a while. I like a variety. It sounds more interesting.
Well, and also they're kind of the outlier. I mean, they're the biggest ticket selling band of all time. Their album sales are stunning, So, they kind of get the last laugh on that, but it's not for everybody, you know what I mean? But it's for most people. That's what I always say about AC/DC. It's like, well, maybe me and you don't want to hear the same thing, but most people do.
No, I love them. Yeah, I saw them live.
Yeah.
I know you toured with them. I didn't see that tour. I was too young, but yeah, they're great live, and it is interesting.
Yeah.
Like they really stick to their guns. Like I don't think they've ever done a ballad at all.
No, nothing like that. That was my initial argument for Ballad of Jane going on our second album. I'm like, wait a minute, this is way too early to put a ballad, And then everybody's other thing was, well, you had One Way Ticket on the first album. That's different. It's heavy. Like I would make up every excuse not to put Ballad of Jane on Cocked and Loaded. Then had 3 meetings about it, and I won and lost in the end. I lost because it went on that record. I won because we put the song out, but it could have came out at any time and within that time period, and it would have been a great thing for us. But the consequences of the song immediately were that we were doing bigger shows, but like more than half of the crowd was there to hear Ballad of Jane. They didn't know our other music. It was really weird, man. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew it.
Yeah. No, that's like with Mr. Big. It was the same thing. Like, because if you listen to Be With You, it's not like their other stuff. So
right, exactly. But that's what was happening. And and Alan Kovac, he's a radio guy. Like he would get in that office at 6:30 a.m. to talk to the people on the East Coast at 9:30 a.m. every weekday, making sure that all our stuff was on the radio, wheeling and dealing, leveraging the bigger bands with the smaller bands, doing it right, doing it the old school way. And he needed Ballad of Jane to do his job, and that was why it came out when it came out.
Yeah, that's got to be one nice thing about the way the music business is now. Obviously, you're not going to sell as many records, but you have more freedom. Like you don't have this record label breathing down your neck. Like we need a ballad hit or whatever. You could just put out whatever you like.
Well, I mean, we're still song conscious. I mean, that's what makes the band's longevity is having good songs. Songs that people can sing. I mean, that's a very important thing to us. And oddly enough, being the instrumentalist part of LA Guns, I always know right away when I hear something come back, and I feel like, ooh, it's not enough song there. And I speak up right away, like, hey, yeah, this is good, but I feel like it's not done. Like, and then I have input, like right here, da 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 da. We need a fucking hook right here, blah blah blah. But until that point, until I hear a song, I don't know if it's a good or bad song yet until I hear that vocal completed. It's so important. It's so goddamn important that I don't care how heavy the song is or fast, it has to be a song. And that's my opinion, for LA Guns is no matter what we do, what style we dive into, has to be structured like a song. People got to be able to understand it quickly, or else we're only doing it for ourselves, which I don't mind, but then we don't make money.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of songs that aren't released, like that you would someday maybe like a box set of something of just everything, all the demos and rarities and stuff?
I do. I have cassettes going back to the first record, and then I have digital files starting all the way through the time I wasn't in LA Guns through all these new records. So yeah, I mean the cool thing is the Hollywood Vampire tapes. We wrote, we did really good demos that sound fucking great. Of stuff that's so heavy without heavy guitars, like it's just like really big Jimmy Page guitars and stuff. I listen to often. I'm like, damn, like, what do I do with this? Like, do I teach the band these songs and we re-record them now? It's like I have like kind of conflicted opinions on them. But if I die, somewhere in the living room is a box of cassettes, just so you know where they are. They're in here. There's probably 40 cassettes, and then you got to go through all the hard drives, and there's a lot of stuff.
Was there recordings of any of the stuff you did with Guns N' Roses? Like, I think there was a song called Bloodshot Eyes that you guys, you and Axl, that neither one of you used.
Well, I just posted on my Instagram, think about you, anything goes and don't cry. Those are recordings done at rehearsal. The other stuff Izzy has. He has cassettes of rehearsals. We never recorded. But yeah, all those songs, you know. But for some reason, I think that Izzy doesn't have them anymore because he hasn't said anything to me in all these years. Like, hey, you know, I got like these 5 cassettes. You know, you want to hear them? Like, I haven't, and I would be the guy he would tell, you know. So I don't know.
God, he would be he's like a bucket list interview for me because he doesn't do interviews. I'm like, I'm so fascinated to understand that guy. He's so fascinating to me.
He's smart.
Yeah.
He's the smartest man I know.
Oh, he's such a brilliant songwriter. I think he's probably the most brilliant songwriter of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. He, you know, but it's his personality. You know, if you listen to this interview, I'd never heard the interview until a couple days ago, and I got it, and I was playing on it. And Izzy does most of the talking in the interview. You know, it's our very first interview ever. He's like, yeah, you know, Guns N' Roses, you know, it's a combination between LA Guns and Hollywood Rose, and, you know, the Axl Rose, I'm Izzy Stradlin on guitar, Tracii Guns on guitar, and he's talking it all up, like, you know. So it was great to hear that because that's how I kind of remember him. But the thing with him is that the cool factor and the like cringe factor had to be way out of balance. Like there could be no cringe, had to be all cool. And was always his mindset. And it's still his mindset to this day. Doesn't want unwanted attention. He doesn't want to be lied to. He wants to write his music, make his money, live his life, and stay out of the spotlight unless he wants to go play. And then that's his thing. But I remember I went to New York to play with Cheryl Rickson when I was 19. So I was freshly out of Guns N' Roses. And I did have a new version of LA Guns put back together, but then I just left. And right before I left, I saw Izzy at Guns N' Roses LA Guns rehearsal. We were 2 bands now, but we rehearsed at the same place. And Izzy goes, hey, are you going to New York? You know, because he had gone there to see Hanoi Rocks like a year earlier. Are you going to New York? I go, yeah. I go, you know what? You should go with me, man. Like this thing I'm doing is cool. And he's like, no. I gotta follow through with this. He goes, because I'm not going to be in this band forever. He goes, but I know it's going to do something. I go, yeah, it is. You know, it's going to do something. And I saw him. They dropped off the Iron Maiden tour and gave us the tour when we played LA. Slash and Duff and Izzy came. I think Adler came too. And I was hanging out with Izzy that first day. And I'm like, wow. He goes, yeah, wild, right? I go, yeah. And he told me how many albums they were selling a day. And it was right after Sweet Child of Mine that came out. And I'm like, really? He goes, it's unbelievable. I go, wow. He goes, but this is it for me. I'm like, come on. You know, he goes, yeah, I mean, you know, I played everywhere I wanted to play, you know, fucking hit record, #1 record, you know, I mean, like, you know, I'm cool. You know, I'm looking at him and he goes, your hair got long. It looks fucking cool. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And then, like, a few minutes later, I was with Slash and we were talking about it. And like he keeps saying, I just want to make another record, man. Like, you know, he was just at the point where like, those are humble guys. You know what I mean? Like, they knew what was going on. But, you know, so I just, you know, like, this record's old, man, now, you know, I just want to go do another record, you know. And I just remember kind of chuckling to myself, like, must be nice, man.
So Izzy basically he retired. He could have retired. I mean, he stayed a little longer, but he basically retired and lived off that for the rest of his life.
Yeah. I saw him like 15, 16 years ago at this weird Guns N' Roses celebration at the Key Club here in LA. And he was so nice, you know. I was staying in this little trailer behind the thing. I think I played, but not Guns N' Roses stuff. I did like some weird LA Guns thing. And then Slash came up into the trailer. And I go, hey, you're supposed to play in a minute. And he goes, oh, fuck this shit. No way, man. I'm not playing. We laughed. And then about 10 minutes later, I was walking out of the trailer, and Izzy walks up, and he looked fucking so cool, man. You know, he looked like 40-year-old Izzy. You know, he just like, hey, what's up, man? Like, it's been a while. And I'm like, you look good. He goes, you look great, man. You sounded great tonight. And that was the last time I talked to Izzy. But, you know, they're good dudes, man. You know, they're just rock stars, being rock stars.
That's so awesome. Like, it's you have so many good stories. Like, I mean, you have all these moments yourself, right? I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, crazy.
What?
It's a crazy life, dude.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I've taken so much of your time, and I appreciate you being so gracious with your time, because we got some great stuff in here. Anything else? Obviously, the record. I always forget the release dates of these records.
It's Friday. It's coming out on.
Oh, perfect. Okay, because I'll release this episode on Friday. So yeah, that's amazing. Then I've heard every song. It's all great. People should download it. Can they get a physical copy too?
You can get an album, a record album.
Oh, it's so badass.
Yeah, it's cool. And no, that's not Janine, my girlfriend. Everybody thinks it is, but it's not.
Is it a real girl, or is it like Photoshopped or something?
There's an original picture of somebody, and then it was put through some AI stuff, and then Phil's wife got a hold of it, and she did her hand painting interpretation of the idea. So this is a painting, you know, from a brain.
Yeah, awesome.
It's
very cool. Well, thank you again so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And I'll see. I think you guys are coming to Phoenix in September. So with Tom Kiefer, with
Kiefer.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Good times. Really good times.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tracii.
All right, Chuck. Talk to you again. Hopefully it's not 7 years.
Yeah, hopefully not. All right. See you later.
Later. Bye.
One of a kind, from the rockers to the wise men.